Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Gym News today. This is Rich. I'll be your host. Today's April 1st, 2022, and we have not broadcasted in a while. We needed a little break, I guess, for different reasons, but we feel that now's the time to come out and do some shows. We got some guests lined up, so I look forward to us putting out a lot more information because there's so much information to put out, and there's a great number of people that are uh, jumping in to the rabbit holes, doing research, cross-checking, really hitting out, really hitting the uncensored platforms and sharing an abundance of information. So shout out to them, and that's one of our goals while we do the show is to give you resources that we go to so that you can do your own research and stuff. So, a real quick, easy one is beforeitsnews.com. That's a great place to go to check your X22 report, see people like the situation update. That's a good show. I always like to watch Michael Jaco and Juan Saban and David Nino Rodriguez and Scott McKay, and I'm becoming a McAllister fan, and I love the Dark Outpost and Linda Paris and Carrie Cassidy. I mean, I just threw all those names out there right there for you to go back and listen to and research those names. Mel K, Charlie Ward. So those are a lot of the people that I listen to and have been listening to for a year now. And I'm on Telegram a lot, and a couple off the top of my head, Santa Surfing, the real Kim Shady channel, the Samantha Morlote, Morlote, great resources. I mean, so this is where I get my information. So those are some of the places right there. I just told you. So what I want to do is take the dots and bring them to you so we can connect the dots. Because I do feel that big changes are coming and things are happening, and that's a for sure thing. Things are happening. That's an understatement. So let's talk about a big one. Let's talk about Russia. Russia. As POTUS number 45 always was saying, it's all about Russia. They're always talking about Russia. And sure enough, they were. They told you Donald Trump was a Russian agent for like 4 years. So that way you would believe that and not vote for him. Some people, I mean, it's a clever technique. This is the world we live in today, is where warfare isn't exactly as it used to be. It's informational warfare. This is the biggest thing about the Great Awakening, is to realize they use the TV, the television, and the programming techniques that they learned from MK Ultra in the 70s and before, on how to manipulate the massive mindset, the collective mindset. But anyhow, come to find out that wasn't true, that the whole Russian collusion and Trump being a spy for Russia was all falsified and made up by people connected to the Clinton Foundation, who was the opponent at the time of the 2016 election. And now, we're finding out things even today that the Hunter Biden laptop is real. 17 months after they told you it was all of them, the New York Times specifically, which is supposed to be a big, reliable news source, came back 17 months later after saying it was Russian propaganda. Now they're telling you the Hunter Biden laptop is real, and indictments are coming. And I'll show you a couple clips on that, on the fake news, or the mainstream news, how they're covering it now. But anyhow, it wasn't Russian propaganda. So yeah, Trump was a Russian agent. Hunter Biden's laptop was a Russian propaganda. Both things aren't true. Those are huge things. Even if you throw the Dominion voting theory out of the window, even the mainstream news polls say that if they would have known the truth about the whether Trump was a Russian agent or if the Biden laptop was real, they would have changed their vote. They said the poll was like 10 or 15%. So that means if you believe the numbers they want that they told you, which I don't, that still means 8 million people would have voted, or 8 to 12 million people would have voted the other way. And the whole election was supposedly decided by 40,000 votes or something. So anyway, not to get into the election or anything like that, just just saying. The point is when you come out as the news and you say something like the president of the United States is a Russian spy, and you say it for 4 years, and then it comes out as a fact that that was a lie, and that our own FBI and our own agencies were in on it, that's a scary thing, I think. I mean, it could be. I mean, I'm not scared of it, but it's a scary proposition because I think the reason why I'm not nervous about it is I think that it was part of there's it was a we have it's going to end up being the downfall of the bad side of the people that would lie and manipulate and steal. It's going to be their downfall because I mean, it's kind of like I'm glad they did it. So now they got caught. So now we can deal with it. And the fact that you can even have shows about it and talk about it is a huge win. I mean, like I would think the fact that the information, it if if the Durham report didn't come out and say, look, they were lying, and he's the special prosecutor for the Department of Justice that Trump appointed, or Barr, who was Trump's AG, and all the other senators and other intelligence officers are backing that up now, and the news is now saying, yeah, we got it wrong. I mean, that's a win. That's a good thing. And now with the Hunter Biden laptop, that's going to be a hard one for people when the details come out about that. I truly believe that it's going to be a tough one. Okay, well, this show, let's talk about Russia. And there's two narratives going on. There is from the NATO and those countries that have a central bank owned by the Rothschild dynasty, meaning the Rothschild banking empire. All the countries that are part of that system, their news sources would have you believe that Putin is it wants to take over the world, and he's slaughtering innocent people, and he's ruthless, and we got to be afraid of him. And then there's another narrative where you're going to find it on places, like I said, beforeitsnews.com, by some of those people, like Juan O'Savin and others, who are going to tell you who have military information, are going to tell you that's not what's going on. And also there's Telegram channels with clips coming out of Ukraine. And they're saying that Putin's actually going in and cleaning house because the New World Order is one of their headquarters is in Ukraine. And they got biolabs and they got Nazis. And it seems like something out of the 3D video game Wolfenstein, biolabs and Nazis. It's crazy. It reminds me of that. And that seemed like, whoa, far-fetched, but sure enough, that comes out and ends up being true. And so everything that the news says is bad. First off, when the news says something, it's always a good idea to say, probably going to be the opposite. And then when you get no opposing view from the mainstream media's narrative, you can almost absolutely bet that they're only going to tell you what they want to hear, and they're not going with the facts. So let's get into it. A little bit more here. Biden yesterday comes out, no, was it 2 days ago? Anyway, in the last week, Biden comes out and tells us that we need to lead the New World Order. You saw that, right? So let's watch that real quick. Here's where he says, we already created a liberal world order and we need to lead the New World Order. So you remember?
1900 and 1946. And since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's gonna be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to unite the rest of the free world.
There's going to be a new world order and we have to lead it.
Since then, we established a liberal world order, and that hadn't happened in a long while. A lot of people dying, but nowhere near the chaos. And now is a time when things are shifting. There's gonna be a new world order out there, and we've got to lead it. We've got to.
So that was, he came out a few days ago and said that. And that was the first time that a lot of people were like, wait, what's he talking about? New World Order? Thought that was wrestling, or I thought that was a conspiracy theory. You know, so someone said the other day, a conspiracy theory should, if you called it a coincidence fact or something, a coincidence analyze, instead of a conspiracy theorist, call yourself a coincidence analyst, and you'll go further. So, okay, let's do a little bit about the New World Order. Okay, what do we got here? Boom, on the back of your dollar bill, it says, do you see it? Right on the dollar bill? Novus Ordo Seclorum. Novus Ordo Seclorum, right there. I mean, just look at a dollar bill. You have on the back of your dollar bill with our greatest commander, you got a pyramid with an eye like Sauron from Lord of the Rings, and underneath it says Novus Ordo Seclorum. That means New World Order in Latin. Still don't believe me? Check this one out. Still don't believe that there's a New World Order, and that they, what's funny is Biden said we need to lead the New World Order. Well, it's already been around. I'll show you. Here's a little compilation of our past presidents and vice presidents, including Biden as vice president, talking about the New World Order. And George Bush Sr. was the first one to introduce it in his speeches, I do believe.
For the international order that we have worked for generations to build. Ordinary men and women are too small-minded to govern their own affairs. That order and progress can only come when individuals surrender their rights to an all-powerful sovereign.
To forge for ourselves and for future generations a new world order, a world where the rule of law, not the law of the jungle, governs the conduct of nations. When we are successful, and we will be, we have a real chance at this new world order, an order in which a credible United Nations can use its peacekeeping role to fulfill the promise and vision of the UN's founders.
After 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order. We have now
that we needed a new world order.
The affirmative task we have now is to actually create a new world order.
Okay, so it's on the back of your dollar bill. You got Obama, Bush Sr., and Vice President Biden, Joe Biden, the real Joe Biden, all talking about the New World Order and a credible United Nations. Well, there you go, the UN. Who who went into the UN? Here's a question, trivia question for you all. Who went and helped create the UN after World War II? Clue, look up Operation Paperclip, and there you will find your answer. Again, that's Operation Paperclip. Okay, so now meanwhile, they're telling you that Putin is the new Hitler taking over. I want to taking over the world, or wants to. And it's pretty, from all the military guys, like all the guys who are sharing the military stuff, it's pretty evident that if Putin wanted to destroy Ukraine, they absolutely could. So they haven't, and so they are not. Now, let's see what Ricardo Bossi has to say about Putin's operations in Ukraine, okay? Which is about Ricardo is a former special forces commando from Australia and the leader of the Australia One political party. So he's a good person to follow. Here's what he has to say.
Time, so forgive me if you've heard this before, but it's important. A lot of people haven't heard it. What's going on in the Ukraine? First of all, it's a massive distraction. They're trying to distract you away from what's really going on in everybody's home country. Now, the Ukraine is this is not what you think it is. The Ukraine, let's get technical first. The Ukraine is not a sovereign state. It does not have internationally recognized sovereign borders. It's still part of Russia, has been since the 10th century. How about that? Now, lots happen in between. We understand that. But this is like Russia invading Russia. That's all it is. Now, second point, the Ukrainian people are very upset, particularly the Ukrainians in Australia. I get it, but guess what? You've been lied to, just like the Australian people have been lied to. We think we're a sovereign nation. We're not. The Ukrainians think they're a sovereign nation. They are not. See, the truth is slowly going to come out about what's really going on. And what's really going on is this. The Ukraine has been the center of the globalists for decades and decades and decades, 70 years at least. CIA, which is not a good organization. They're the implementers of deep state, let's say. They've been working in the Ukraine for 70 years, building up a resistance to everybody and everything. Why? Because they needed to bring the Soviet Union down, but they also want the resources that are in the Ukraine. That's what this is all about. Particularly Eastern Ukraine, massive natural resources that CIA goes in, gets control of, and American business interests, and they're not business, they're just robber barons. They're not legitimate businessmen. They just want to steal, and that's what goes on. And so they're taking that away from Russia and the Ukraine. And on top of that, it's the center of the deep state. And so by Vlad Putin going in, he's cutting the head off the snake. Once Ukraine goes down, because they've already taken out the capital of Kazakhstan. And if you want to have a look at what's weird, go look at the architecture in Kazakhstan and tell me this is normal architectural buildings of a struggling nation. But Ukraine, that's the head of the snake, and Vlad's taking the head off. Once the head comes off, the whole beast will die. So that's what's actually going on, folks. So please, they are going to tell you their stories about possible nuclear war, and Vlad's the bad man. This is the war with Russia that they wanted with Hillary Clinton as president. Because she lost, the whole war against Russia was postponed. This is the plan they always had, to destroy Russia, because they don't have a banking system that is under the Rothschilds. What a dangerous course of action that is. And they want to get a hold of the resources. This is them taking down. Anyway, so Vlad's taking down deep state. He's helping. He's cutting the head off the snake. So that's what's going on. So ignore all the chatter you're going to hear over the next little while about potential nuclear war and Russia's attempt to take over the globe. Completely the opposite. So that's the Ukraine. And so pay attention, but please do your own research. Don't, for goodness sake, don't watch mainstream media, because if their lips are moving, just like the politicians, if the media's lips are moving, they're lying.
Okay. Okay. So, Ricardo Bossi, basically, you could argue that if Australia didn't have Dominion voting machines, he could very well be the president of Australia or the prime minister. But he'll be the first one to tell you that Australia is not even a sovereign nation. They're still under the rule of the British Crown, as is Canada, and pretty much the United States is, but it's in a disguise. I mean, everything that we do, I don't even know. how much I can get into because I'm trying to stay on point. But let's just say that your tax money, American tax money, it doesn't go to some vault or bank in Washington, D.C. It first goes overseas because Washington, D.C. Is not is a district of Columbia. It's not even part of the United States government. Um, anyway, now you're getting into the United States corporation versus the United States of America, which the Constitution represents. And we'll get into that more in the future. But if you listen to what Ricardo had to say, he brought up a couple of things. He said, look, this is the war that we would have had if Hillary would have won. The Rothschild dynasty is in control of the central banks, which are in most of the countries. And Russia doesn't want to participate in the central bank system. So, and he mentioned Kazakhstan or Kazakhstan, the place where Borat is from. Well, the reason why they made the movie Borat is to kind of make you think that that country was a third world impoverished country. You never want to go there. Truth is, that was another headquarters for the globalists. And the people in Kazakhstan overthrew their government, chased them down. The police and the hired soldiers were literally on their knees in front of the citizens because they went too far over taxes. You can look it up. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, I want to share a little bit with you. So he mentioned the Rothschilds. Who are the Rothschilds? Most people know this name. Basically, they were the royal family of the United Kingdom, Britain, back in the 1700s. And obviously they came from another family line, but they took over the money supply of England. And so England's not even under the control of itself. It's whoever owns the money. And that's, I hope if anything doesn't hit you, I'm sure that, a lot of things will hit you. But if one thing, if and only one thing can get through, hit you, it's the fact that there's an organization or a group that prints the money for several countries and owns the money supply. Now, here's a little quote from Nathan Rothschild, who's passed since. I think he was in the 1800s. And you can look this up. Look up Rothschild quotes about money. So here we go. Who controls the issuance of money controls the government. Nathan Meyer Rothschild. His father, before him, let me issue and control a nation's money, and I care not who writes the laws. Mayer Amschel Rothschild. Here's the one who's alive today. He didn't say this, but this is a meme that basically encompasses what he's about. Hi, my name is Rick Jacob Rothschild. My family is worth $500 trillion. We own every central bank in the world. We finance both sides of every war since Napoleon. We own your news, your media, the media, your oil, and your government. And you probably never heard about me. Well, here's a real quote by that same guy. So it says, let this sink in. In November of 2015, Jacob Rothschild accused Vladimir Putin of being a traitor to the New World Order. So there you go. You got the so it's pretty, so without too much due diligence, you'll find that the Rothschilds set up the Federal Reserve System after the Civil War. They sold war bonds to both the South and the North of American Civil War. So that way, when the war was over, both sides, whoever was going to win the war was going to be broke and owe them money. Now, somehow, I think Abraham Lincoln avoided this fate by trying to do something with the silver dollar, and then he ended up getting shot. So this goes back for hundreds of years. And like I said, you got the name New World Order in Latin on your dollar bill. So, okay, so what does that mean? So again, that is what I'm trying to do is paint a little picture for you that what's going on in Ukraine is more than, it's not just, it's different than what the mainstream media would have you believe. Now, the point is if the globalists own, let's just say the Rothschilds are one of the leaders of the globalists. If the globalists, and they got their partners too, I'm sure, but the globalists own or control the central banks that print money, monopoly money, fake money. They print as much as they want, whenever they want, in the countries that they control. They also control the media. So look at the United States. They print the dollar. Whenever we need more, they print $1 trillion. They print more money. Then they take the taxes and they spend that, they print more. Well, that's all well and good until somebody decides that they're gonna change that system by taking their currency away from the central bank system controlled by Rothschilds and friends and create a system that's linked to gold. And that's exactly what Putin has done this week. So I want to share a couple slides with you to further that point. Oh, there we go. Okay, check this out. This is one of the things I pulled off of Telegram just to show you guys the point here. Holy heck, they did it. This is a really big deal. The financial equivalent of nuclear bombs. Most world's economies are based on debt. Now Russians' money is based on money. Russia's central bank announces ruble bound to gold, 5,000 rubles per gram. They just came out and announced that their currency for their people is now going to be linked to gold. So it has a real value. Now, if you ask me, the only way they can pull this off is by using the quantum financial system. So if you don't know that, look up QFS or quantum financial system, because that's going to be what makes this whole thing work, which means the whole world going back to gold back. How that roller coaster ride is going to look, I do not know, but the writing's on the wall that all currencies will eventually be, that aren't linked to real resources, will become obsolete. So another one is, let me see here. This is an explanation I want to share with you. So I can read this to you. Someone laid it out real nice. I don't think people realize what just happened over the past few days, so I'm going to explain what I'm seeing. The Russian central bank pegged 1 gram of gold to 5,000 rubles, which is currently about 50 bucks. At the same time, Putin made it so that Russian gas and oil can only be purchased in rubles. Meaning Putin basically just pegged Russian oil and gas to gold using paper rubles as a proxy. So Europe will need to either buy rubles from Putin in gold in order to buy gas and oil, or they will have to buy directly in gold, which means there will soon be a lot more demand of rubles. Currently, the Forex rate for rubles to dollars is about 100 to 1. But with 5,000 rubles now equaling 1 gram of gold and oil being priced directly in gold, you're going to see a massive price disruption in these Forex markets in terms of how much a gold bar can actually still buy. Foreign countries holding our dollar debt notes in reserve will see less of a use for them and will want to start dumping them in order to get something more stable, something which holds value. I mean, what would you rather have? Something that is linked to gold or something that can be printed by the oligarchs whenever they think whenever they want to? And which, as any economics or economists will tell you, leads to inflation and eventually hyperinflation when no one wants that money anymore. It's kind of like what happened to Germany when their currency fell apart because no one was going to support them. You know, they were bringing wheelbarrows full of cash to buy a thing of bread. They were playing with the money in the streets. Anyhow, foreign countries holding our dollar notes in reserve will see less of a use for them and will want to start dumping them in order to get something more stable, something which holds its value. basically any currency pegged to gold now will fit the bill, which means those countries like Japan, will be dumping their dollar debt as fast as they can. They're not going to go down with the ship, and they will move into a more stable currency like the ruble, which will have a deflationary effect on the ruble, the opposite of inflation. It's going to become worth more money because people are going to want it because it's a currency that has a value. Which means Putin will be able to repeg the ruble to gold at whatever rate he wants down the line. It's 5,000 rubles today. Tomorrow it might be 500, and then 100, and then 10. This also means all those excess dollars being dumped by foreign nations are about to come home and cause even worse hyperinflation than we're seeing. Okay, so this is happening. Russia is, so meanwhile you got United States, I guess, printing more money and giving more money to the situation over there with military guns and this and that. Meanwhile, what's Putin doing in Russia? They're just saying, we're going to fix our currency situation to be away from y'all because you're all not good for humanity. And Putin's come out and said the New World Order has lost, that the cabal is an evil crimes against humanity syndicate. He said these things. And so you got to ask yourself, by now, what our news is saying about everything that we've learned so far, how can you trust them? I mean, what happened to COVID? I mean, where's the reporting on that? It seems like everything's about this Ukraine situation. We have Israel bombing Syria. We have other countries starving, but the only thing that they're reporting is about Ukraine. Now, the thing that Russia has also said is that there are biolabs and Nazis in Ukraine to this day. So, is that true? I mean, I believe so. I'm going to show you some things that for you to check out. But first of all, let's do this quick math in our head, okay? After World War II ended, I don't know, like 20 Nazis were hung after the Nuremberg trials for crimes against humanity. 20. What happened to the other 10,000, 20,000, multiple tens of thousands of officers and scientists? Where did they go? Well, look up Operation Paperclip. It's right there. They went all over the world. They went in the UN, they went into NASA, they went into our governments. Were they all sorry and decided, oh, we're good? We're sorry, we want to be good people now? I don't know. I don't think so, but anyhow, Operation Paperclip. It'll blow your mind. So, okay, let's take the biolabs claim and break that down for a second. So, first thing that came out, Putin said there's biolabs in Ukraine that can cause that can make a virus happen at any time, like the COVID or much worse, and it can be released in Russia, blamed on Russia, and we're not having it. And we've warned you about it, and we're going in and we're taking out these biolabs. So the first reaction of the news was, oh, there's no biolabs. It's a lie. But then what happened? A congressional hearing about the biolabs happened, and this is what we found out. So here's a clip of Victoria Nuland, who was one of our NATO ambassadors in the past, who knows about Ukraine. And she's asked at a congressional hearing, are there biolabs in Ukraine? And this was about March 15th or something. So I'm sure a lot of you've seen this, but for those who haven't.
Biological research facilities, which in fact we are now quite concerned Russian forces may be seeking to gain control of. So we are working with the Ukrainians on how they can prevent any of those research materials from falling into the hands of Russian forces should they approach.
So she says, yeah, we're concerned that our bio research facilities will fall into Russian hands. And now to take it a step further, look at what Senator Mark Rubio tries to kind of clean it up to what it seems to me to make the Americans feel a little more like the Russians are the bad guys, and they're going to be a threat if they get their hands on these bio research facilities. So here's a clip of Senator Mark Rubio trying to explain the difference between a bio research facility and a bioweapons lab. Let's see what he says.
Bioweapons facility and one that's doing research. A bio-research facility is a totally different thing than a bioweapon facility, because you could have samples of a deadly or, serious pathogen, but that doesn't mean you could weaponize it or that you're working on weaponizing it. But people ask themselves, if there's these facilities there, and there's a lot that play here. I mean, there was a lot, we should have, and this is none of you, but a long time ago, this should have been acknowledged. Like there are these labs, this is what they do, because a lot of these fact checkers just said, don't even mention labs because they don't even exist. They exist all over the world. There's a long time ago, this should have been acknowledged. Like there are these labs, this is what they do, because a lot of these fact checkers just said, don't even mention labs because we should have, and this is none of you.
Sorry,
but a long time ago, this should have been acknowledged. Like there are these labs, this is what they do, because a lot of these fact checkers just said, don't even mention labs because they don't even exist. They exist all over the world. There's labs like that right here. So what I think got some people fired up is when she said, we're worried that the Russians will get a hold of these facilities, because that implies that there's something in those facilities that's very dangerous. So I don't know if you could shed some light on how there can be things in the lab that are dangerous, but they not be weapons labs.
Yeah, all I would say, Senator, is that the danger here, it seems to me, is the capacity the Russians have developed and that they've used in the past, and their interest in trying to create false narratives here as well. To the best of my knowledge, well, you have to be careful about any of those substances you've talked about, which you see in public health or research systems around the world for civilian purposes. Well, you have to be careful about that. That is in no way akin to the kind of threats that would be posed by, weapons research and development or weapons facilities.
Yeah, I just think that the answer is what piqued a lot of people's.
Okay, I'm going to rewind it real quick again to hear. Look how they immediately put it on to Russia, right?
Here, it seems to me, is the capacity the Russians have developed and that they've used in the past, and their interest in trying to create false narratives here as well. To the best of my.
Okay. So isn't this kind of the same thing now? They're saying we really, so first of all, Senator Rubio said the fact checkers don't know what they're talking about because there's weapons bio facilities all over the place. And again, now we've had the Newland, former NATO ambassador. Now we have the new CIA director. What happened to Gina Haspel? There's a question to go ask. What happened to her? She was the CIA director during the 2020 election. Does anyone know what happened to her? I mean, you can look it up. I don't want to go into too many things on this one first show. But what happened to Gina Haspel? So you got the CIA director now saying, we're just, we're primarily worried about Russia because they've used these bio facilities and turned them evil and used them against the world before. When did they do that? So you see where it's all kind of falling apart. Hold on one second. Okay, here I found it. This is a little clip I want to show you. Just another place that I got a little video that shows the Newland Rubio conversation. Now, watch her body language.
If there's a biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
336 of our corrupt.
Hold on, one more time.
Biological or chemical weapon incident or attack inside of Ukraine, is there any doubt in your mind that 100% it would be the Russians that would be behind it?
There is no doubt in my mind, Senator, and it is classic Russian technique to blame on the other guy what they're planning to do themselves.
So so I'm sorry. There's no doubt in your mind that it would be the Russians who created, who would use the biofacilities for warfare. I mean, is that even what an ambassador would say? I mean, are you supposed to say like it's possible? And she goes on to say that it is classic Russian tactics to tell you to say to say the other side's doing what they're going to do. Well, the point is how can we take that as anything but propaganda in itself? Because the Russian collusion story has been debunked. The fact that the Hunter Biden laptop was a Russian propaganda has been now overturned as debunked. But now you have Newland saying that the BIOS facilities would only be the Russians if something dangerous were to come out in the future. Meaning if there was a deadly outbreak of a virus, it would only be at the Russians' hand. Without a doubt, she's certain. That doesn't make any sense. It shouldn't make any sense to you. Okay. Okay. That may be a good time to wrap it up. I just wanted to pop on and say hi, and we're going to be doing more. But what did we learn? Russia. The Durham investigation is proving that Trump being a Russian agent was a lie. Hunter Biden laptop is not Russian disinformation. In fact, let's play a couple. Let's show some clips about the Hunter Biden laptop before we go. Okay, so just to fill you guys in on a couple things. 2014. In fact, I know what to show you. Okay, you might have heard the term Azov Battalion. The Azov Battalion is the Ukrainian National Guard or Special Operations Unit. Basically, they're the ones who are fighting the Russians. They're in the cities. And if you look them up on Wikipedia, it says the Azov Special Operations Detachment, known as the Azov Regiment, is a right-wing neo-Nazi former paramilitary group that is now a unit of the National Guard of Ukraine. It says right there, right-wing neo-Nazi. And it was known as the Azov Battalion until 2014. Well, what happened in 2014? So right here, it says that. I don't want to get this off YouTube by looking up some pictures right now, but I suggest look up Azov Battalion, neo-Nazis. It's in the Wikipedia description. It literally says the Azov Battalion is a neo-Nazi battalion of Ukraine. So, and it started in 2014, or that's when it got renamed. So what happened in 2014? Well, what happened was a regime change happened in Ukraine in 2014 when Obama was president and Joe Biden was vice president. They overthrew the government then. NATO helped them overthrow the government. That's what Russia's basically doing now. They're re-overthrowing. Well, if you do some digging, you'll find some information that there's been something like 40,000 Ukrainian Russian citizens that are in certain parts of Ukraine that have been basically genocided or killed and since 2014. So from one perspective, you have this group taking over, this Azov Battalion taking over as the military for the Ukraine government. You got Hunter Biden all mixed up in there, which is the front for Joe, which is all coming out on energy companies in Ukraine. You have Poroshenko, who was the president before Zelensky, I believe. I don't think there was, I have one between them. who was put in 2014, and then later, has been, what's the word? Removed from office, disgraced. His own people are calling him for treason, Poroshenko. That's also the one that Joe Biden's on the call saying that they need to fire the prosecutor, or else Ukraine's not getting the billions. So they had to take Poroshenko out because he wasn't looking too good on the mass media, no matter which way you were looking at it. They put in Zelensky. So when I say they put in Zelensky, if you haven't figured it out, a lot of countries, they put in whoever they want. It's, it's a matter of time before that all hits like a ton of bricks. So what I'm trying to say is you got this battalion called the Azov Battalion who look up to Stepan Bandera, this guy right here. Okay. Stepan Bandera. I can't read that. That's another language. SS officer. Okay. Same guy. Same guy as the same guy here. So this is Ukraine. This is a bunch of Ukrainians waving pictures of this is a hero. Stepan Bandera is a Ukrainian hero. He was an SS officer. It's easy to look up. So and now here's another thing to show you that you can find on Telegram, on the Telegram channel Intel Slava Z. On that Telegram channel, you'll find a lot of videos like this one. This is in the Russian language, but basically it's saying, this guy's saying that the Azov were using them, the citizens, as human shields so that they wouldn't be attacked by the Russians. So it has subtitles, if you can read it.
Как вы смогли выехать? Почему? А украинская армия не помогала вам? Вы рады, что вы выехали?
Мы 26 числа не в подвале сидим. 26 числа. Сейчас еще я выехал.
Кого-то душ слышим.
А?
В подвале сидело 300 человек. Это в одном.
300 people were hiding in one house alone. They just got liberated from being in a basement since February 26th. I think this was shared middle of March. So that was like 3 weeks. Basically, people being told, stay in the basement and you can't leave. And
Почему вы раньше не выехали?
А нас никто не выпускал.
Не давали коридор.
They didn't give green corridor.
Украина не выпускала из города.
Ukraine didn't let to leave the city. We were blocked.
Полностью заблокированы были. Приезжали военные, говорит.
The military Ukrainian arrived and said,
Ни в коем случае не выезжайте из города, если вам будет.
Under any circumstances, do not leave the city.
Заставлен коридор.
If Russian Federation opens a green corridor for you,
Российской Федерации. Они хотели дальше.
meaning don't leave even if Russian Federation opens a corridor for you. They wanted to continue using us as a human shield.
Прикрываться и все.
Well, I don't need to keep sharing it more and more, but there's lots of videos like this showing this narrative. And here's my question is, why isn't the mainstream news that reports in the NATO countries or the countries with central banks showing these? Why aren't they debunking them? They're not. They're basically saying Putin is the devil, that Putin is Hitler, Putin, and all day long, you can go on Telegram and in uncensored places like Rumble and BitChute and see that they're saying that the Azov military, which Stepan Bandera is their hero, which self-identifies neo-Nazis, are not letting citizens in certain cities leave because that's their protection. If they didn't have them there, the Russians would go in faster. So anyway, that's a lot to chew on here. One last thing to leave you out on, I want to go over how CNN and those mainstream media channels responded when it was confirmed that 17 months later, the Hunter Biden laptop is absolutely real. And honestly, if you're not prepared, or some of your family members and friends aren't prepared to even know that that is a fact, they're going to be shocked when the facts about that laptop come out. Now, I find it hard to believe that the story that he just got so high on crack that he left it at a computer repair shop. He even came on the Hunter Biden we see on TV. He came on a news, ABC News or something, and said, yeah, it could be my laptop. I might have left it. I was not thinking straight back in those days. So however that story is, that's funny in itself, but the laptop's been validated and authenticated. It's going to be showing paper trail from Hunter Biden's bank accounts, messages to the CCP, Communist Chinese Party, and also Ukraine, where, you know, where the setting of our story is taking place of today's show. In Ukraine, Hunter Biden was receiving millions of dollars. There's a person in the emails called the big guy. And those are just the treason stuff. I mean, when you get to the crimes of humanity, it's going to unlock things like these biolabs and these energy companies and what they were really being used for. So I hope everybody's prepared for that. But in the meantime, let's watch a couple before we close our show. Here's a
reported the news because Peter.
Here's a segment just reported on Fox Business. Maria Bartiromo. I don't know her name off the top of my head, but Maria, she's basically talking to one of our senators, who's a good guy in my opinion, about the fact that Hunter Biden's laptop is real. So let's hear that. That just came out like yesterday. So it's hitting the mainstream news, and that's what makes this so great. Is now that the mainstream news is turning, it validates the other claims we've postulated on this show, that there's a plan going on, and that there are two sides facing off, and one side's in more control than the other. Because if the globalists were in control, then the media who they own would not be turning, or maybe they're throwing Hunter Biden out as a sacrificial lamb in hopes that, they won't be, they themselves won't be gone after. But anyhow, let's listen to this.
Schweitzer says that they know an indictment is coming of Hunter Biden, and they want to ensure that they reported the news before the indictment comes. But look, it's no secret, Joe Biden lied. And the media, even as they are saying the Hunter Biden laptop is real, refuse to connect the dots to Joe Biden. As I've been saying, this is not a Hunter Biden story. This is a Joe Biden story. And we know now, in retrospect, he lied. Here's Joe Biden during the final presidential election with Trump in 2020. Watch this.
Vice President Biden, there have been questions about the work your son has done in China and for a Ukrainian energy company when you were vice president. In retrospect, was anything about those relationships inappropriate or unethical?
Nothing was unethical. My son has not made money in terms of this thing about, what are you talking about, China.
Yes, Congressman, the moderator of the debate, the NBC News reporter Kristen Welker, is now asking questions about the answer. She pressed White House Communications Director Kate Bedingfield on it yesterday. Here's the White House's answer. Watch this, then I get your reaction.
We absolutely stand by the president's comment, and I would point you to the reporting on this, which referenced statements that we made at the time that we gave to the Washington Post, who worked on this story. But as you know, I don't speak for Hunter Biden, so there's not more I can say on that.
Congressman, how could she stand by the comments, okay? How is that possible? Some of your Republican colleagues on the House Oversight Committee sent a letter to the White House.
Okay. Okay, that was, I guess, not a senator. That was Congressman Jim Jordan. But they're basically showing that Joe Biden lied about he lied about his son making money from Ukraine, which he absolutely did. And there's mentioning of 10% for the big guy and all that stuff that was said was Russian propaganda is true. So basically, this is a constitutional crisis because when this comes out, it's going to be like, did Joe Biden receive any of this money from China and from Ukraine and from all these other places? And what's up with all this? I mean, the stuff that's going to come out about the biolabs is going to link to other things that are going to be very disturbing for people to find out for the first time. So now before we end the show, let's look at how CNN responds to the fact from a former federal prosecutor's opinion saying that it looks like someone's going to jail. Okay, here we are. Watch the two CNN faces as this former federal prosecutor explains the situation. Now, remember, CNN said for 17 months that this was an absolute lie, propaganda from the Trump side, from the Russian collusion, connected to the Russian collusion story, all to mislead the American public. Now let's watch their faces as we hear what the former federal prosecutor says.
A very real, very substantial investigation of potentially serious federal crimes. We are seeing federal prosecutors in Delaware do exactly what you would expect to see federal prosecutors do in this situation. They're talking to witnesses, they're bringing people into the grand jury, they're issuing subpoenas, and I would expect, as Evan reported, they're now gaining steam, and they need to make a decision, I think, in the at least intermediate future. This case has been going on for 4 years, and there is a realistic chance this could result in federal charges. Of course, then we'd be in unprecedented political territory, not legal territory, but a situation of having potentially the Justice Department prosecuting and trying to imprison the son of the president.
Okay, then. I'm trying to go back. Stop there. Okay. Okay. So what did we learn today on the Jim News? A lot of what the mainstream news says about Russia is the opposite. And they've said that Trump was a Russian agent. Not true. They said there was no biolabs in Ukraine before they said there was, but it's only dangerous if they fall into the Russians' hands. Meanwhile, Russia has put together a UN Security Council meeting, and they're ongoing presenting the information that they've confiscated from the biolabs to the World Court, showing the evidence that that the bio research facilities are NATO funded and they are dangerous without anyone else getting involved, and may have led to other virus pandemics, whatever you want to call them, in the past. Yeah, that's right. I don't have time to go into that because I don't want to make this show forever, but you can find that UN Security Council on the biolabs meeting. You can look it up. They were all there. All the ambassadors were there talking about it. Joe Biden recently said that we need to We need to lead the New World Order. The New World Order has been around for quite some time. Any country that has paper money that's printed whenever they want is under the control of the Rothschild central bank system. And Russia's going gold backed. And something I don't know if I mentioned, but other countries are following. China, everyone in the BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa are all following. They're all going gold back. So sooner rather than later, you're going to have this. So we have these different, we have this chaos coming to head. We have the truth about the laptop. We have the truth about that it might be our side that's likes to tell the propaganda, meaning our mainstream news. And our dollar may crash if there's not something set in place to save our butts. If we didn't have one of our business-minded presidents in the past put together something to make sure that if this were to happen and that the other countries' currencies start to go gold back, that we have a plan in place for ours to go as well. We could very well be in for some really, really rough waters. Well, I do believe that that plan is in place, and that no matter how rough the waters get, it's just the storm before the rainbow. And we'll be bringing you more up on that in the near future. This Sunday, we'll be interviewing Rita, who's one of our best researchers, and she's been in the trenches this last year. So we look forward to having her on the show on Sunday. So thank you, everybody. It's fun to be back. We're gonna keep coming at you in the near future, multiple shows and lots of information. Oh, and I have a one of my sponsor, or whatever you want to call it. It's some vitamins that I take that I think totally saved my butt since the 2020 aftermath. I've seen amazing results with others as well. One's for the brain, that's the Delta, and the greens are for the body. So they'll be in the comments. So that helps. If you like what, go to the website, check out the testimonials on what they do and how they can heal and repair the brain and body. It helps out. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. See you soon. Over and out.